Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Coming to you live, raw, and uncensored from Studio 107, welcome to the SOL Podcast. Wake up, America, with your host, Drew Baker, Shake and Bake.
We're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House! Ah!
Matt Dixon, the Ironman.
When you're going through hell, keep going.
And Kelsey Lee, Special K.
I'm an extremely stable genius.
A podcast dedicated to protecting your rights by exploring the law, politics, and current events. You have the right to remain silent and listen, or call in and become a part of the show. And now, here's your host, Shake and Bake.
Welcome to the SOL Podcast. I am your host, the Shake and Bake. I'm joined by the regular attendees of this motley crew with the Ironman. Ironman, how are you today?
It's been a long week. Absolutely long week.
That it has.
I'm so excited. We got Christmas coming up soon. A lot of holiday time, a lot of time with family, but
right,
it's going to be stressful.
It's the most wonderful time. All right.
Oh my goodness.
Is the Special K in the house today?
I'm here, ready to go.
Ready to rock and roll.
She's always hot and ready.
Hot and ready from the Studio 107 here in Columbus, Ohio. Again, I am your host, the Shake and Bake. Excited to have everybody here today for another version of the Free-for-All Friday. So we're excited about that, and we're hoping that you are too. We've got a couple different topics to cover. First off, just so you know, you're watching this on YouTube live stream, but of course we produce both a recorded version that we put up on YouTube later, and then we have all of our podcasting can be found on Buzzsprout, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, any podcast platform that you enjoy to listen to out there in the podcasting sphere. Also, if you don't mind subscribing, that would be nice. We've seemed to do really well on the podcast platforms, and that's great, but trying to build up the YouTube platform a little bit more just because we're new to this, but we've got some cool cameras and fun stuff to play with now, which I like. I think I just hit my head on the mic, by the way. That did not feel very good.
Hat. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when it's been a long week, and it certainly has. But I'm excited about the holidays. Hope everybody else is too. And unfortunately, we won't be having a lot of Christmas talk today, but maybe before the Christmas holiday, we could do a Christmas edition. I'm not sure what we would do, but we could have some tunage. Maybe I could write a, Let's Go Brandon Christmas song or something fun like that. That'd be good. Be a good time.
Be fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll sing. I'll bring my recorder and play the melody.
You are really into the recorder. I think it gets brought up every time, and I'm pretty excited to hear what you can do on that thing.
Actually, that's true. I've never brought it in for you guys.
No, you talk about it all the time, but you never bring it in.
I skill out at hot cross buns. It's about all I can do.
Well, then you can also do 3 blind mice too.
Well, it would be nice to have a star appearance.
You get 2.
Star appearance from the Kazoo Man.
Ooh,
outside.
Yeah.
I just found out the other day the Kazoo Man has his own TikTok channel. Did you know that?
I did not.
Very true. I was actually kind of shocked by that, but apparently he does. I didn't know.
Gonna try to get myself on that.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we get Kazoo Man in, maybe we'll bring him on for the Christmas special. All right. Well, getting back to the Free-for-All Friday, we better do a quick disclaimer before we do that, although I don't think this will be a heavily legal topic today in any way, shape, or form, but we have been doing the legal tip of the week, and we're going to try to sneak one in before we leave for vacation. And thanks for all the likes and views on that. I'm surprised, given that that's kind of a sidebar to this. It's done pretty well, and I hope it's helping some people. And if I can do anything that can possibly make it better, let me know, like get Matt off the show for that little tip of the week. And
put me on, yeah.
What?
So you can put
wow.
me.
Yeah. That's not true. We wouldn't do that. No, but we could definitely.
I get a little jealous when you guys are hanging out in here without me.
But the truth is, if there's something legal that you want to really know something about, if it's something we can put into like a 5-minute tip of the week, or if you think we might be able to, send that suggestion over. We'll certainly consider it and see if we can make it happen.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
Let's get the disclaimer out of the way, please. Thank you.
Remember, the views and opinions expressed on this show are meant for informational purposes only and are not to be construed as legal advice. There is no way, in any way, that we are creating an attorney-client relationship.
You heard it here first. No attorney-client relationship, but certainly a couple attorneys and a lay person,
Facebook lawyer.
a Facebook lawyer to help out with any questions that you might have. So let's get started on this Free for All Friday. I believe Mr. Dixon, sorry about that, is first today. And I really didn't mean to do that, by the way. I know it came out funny, but I didn't mean it. But he's first on the hot seat for Free for All Friday. So let's let it rip. What you got there, Ironman?
Well, you all know that I focus here and there on some like general lawlessness topics. We've talked about this in the past, and we were talking about like speeding and other things on the roadway. We were talking about dirt bikes and ATVs up and down the main streets of Columbus. We've also seen in the news recently like a nationwide pandemic of smash and grabs or just like mass shoplifting. And it's driving me nuts. So I actually have, a story from my own experience on Wednesday. I was at a local drugstore picking up just a bottle of water, had to pick one up real quick, just said, there's a drugstore nearby. I'll go there, grab it. Go inside. There's a gentleman in the store. He's got a big black trash bag.
Doesn't sound like a gentleman to me.
Not sure what's happening. I didn't know if it was an employee. I wasn't paying 100% attention to what was happening at that moment, but I just saw him in an aisle with a trash bag. Not, again, cleaning something up, not sure. A couple minutes later, I see him in another aisle. He is stuffing a black trash bag, a big 40-gallon trash bag full of stuff.
What
just
the
going,
hell?
Yeah. Going up and down the shelves,
crazy.
up and down the stores in the aisle, just picking stuff up. And I'm up at the register, and he just walks right by, has the sack over his shoulder, like he's Santa Claus, and walks right out the front door.
Maybe he was Santa Claus, and maybe he had something already worked out with the North Pole about.
Never know.
You never know.
Walks right out the front door. Of course, a lot of people aren't going to do anything. They don't know if the person's armed. They don't know the circumstances. Nobody really wants to interject themselves into these kinds of scenarios. But we keep seeing this stuff all across the country. We've seen all kinds of video on news channels from these things happening in California. Columbus has its own, problem with this gang. They're dubbed the Game Over Kids, with over 250.
Game Over. I haven't heard this before.
They're called the Game Over Kids. Over 250 felonies between them all. And these are all kinds of different kind of smash and grabs or burglaries, carjacking.
What's the Game Over?
Yeah, do they
I don't
like
get
wear
it.
matching jackets like the T-Birds from Greece?
I don't know. It's just a reference that I saw in a story from mid-November. Columbus police had dubbed them the Game Over Kids.
I would sense it would be game over if they catch somebody doing that with the concealed carry. For them, it could be game over at that point. But yeah, that's awful.
Certainly. There was a story a couple days ago. Columbus police are trying to track down somebody who stole more than $1,000 in cigarettes from a gas station. Another one stole a couple $100 worth of cigarettes from a different gas station. Could have been the same person. Who knows?
Good chance.
A huge smash and grab out of Chicago. There was a high-end exotic car dealership, and they had actually like gunmen that came in and started, just taking stuff out of cases. They ended up stealing some very expensive wristwatches out of some of these cases at this exotic store. Now, funny thing is, some of the security in the exotic dealership had firearms.
Oh,
But because the lookout man who had the firearm with this group didn't raise the weapon, they didn't pull their weapons out.
uh-oh.
And almost sort of they don't want to defend themselves in court for the next
I was going to say,
3 years.
I don't think they want to be
the
in
guy,
the national spotlight
That's right.
as the terrible person that shot somebody that was doing a criminal act and potentially putting people's lives at, in danger. But what does that matter?
So whatever policies and procedures they have in place, those guards didn't raise their weapons because there were women and children, other guests in the dealership at the time. So they didn't want to have a gunfight.
Right.
So, it's just absolutely nuts. What really, what do you got?
I'll tell you what I got. I think you just haven't really done a lot of research on this because you're blaming the people that are doing the stealing. I'm confused because Lori Lightfoot has a different opinion on this.
Yeah.
Were you going into that, or I have it right here?
You go right ahead. I would have.
I didn't know if you knew about this or not. I wasn't sure, but she recently pinpointed the real problem.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with these criminals on the street and the breaking in. It has everything to do with the business owner. Let's get real.
That's right.
I'm being serious.
Retailer's fault.
I'm being sincere on this. I'm being sincere.
Okay.
That was my Biden for today.
Oh,
I'm being sincere.
You should have said it quietly.
Yeah, maybe I should have whispered it. She said, I will tell you, I'm disappointed that they are not doing more to take safety and make it a priority. For example, we still have retailers that won't institute plans like having security officers in their store, making sure that they've got cameras and that they are actually operational, locking up their merchandise at night. So as I see it here, this is a clear-cut situation of just businesses being negligent.
I agree. If these businesses would just not allow anybody in their stores, nothing would ever get stolen.
Or it's not like it's...
Shop online.
Well, it's not like there's any overhead attached to having security guards.
No,
that doesn't increase your overhead at all and reduce your profits, does it?
Well, but let's be real.
Oh.
Are retailers going to reduce their profits? I don't know about that. So,
what do you mean?
Well, when you look
when you're losing as much as you are?
Well,
is that your point?
Well, let's just talk about shoplifting in general being a victimless crime. It's not necessarily true. Consumers at the end of the day are the ones who are going to pay higher prices for items. Because if retailers are having shrinkage, which is their industry term for shoplifting, if their inventory is suffering from shrinkage, then they will go back and they will increase prices of their goods.
Right.
And we as consumers end up paying more for the people that are walking out with the quote unquote free stuff.
But wait a minute. What about, they have insurance? I don't think it's that big of a deal. You have insurance. You just call your insurance carrier. I lost $1 million. They send you a check. I don't see what the problem is.
Oh, okay. So insurance premiums wouldn't go up?
Well, but
they're the business owner. They're rich.
They're
They can pay
rich.
For it. Yeah.
They're rich. What's the big deal? They're rich. They make all that money.
You're right.
They're greedy.
You're right. You're right. Because those premiums go up and they would never pass it on to the consumer. Wait.
Or the other people that pay insurance every day too that aren't rich. Okay,
right.
So what I'm gathering, we've got this completely negligent business. They're not locking things up. They're not spending the money on overhead for security guards. And then couple that with the fact that they're so just arrogant that they won't use insurance, which is what they pay for, to go ahead and pay off these thefts. So, I mean, what's wrong with these businesses? I'm really disgusted by it.
I don't know. I look at all of this and say, what is causing this? And there's a lot of stories back and forth, a lot of quote unquote experts spouting out why they think these things are happening. At the end of the day, I think it's the rhetoric. I think it's all the rhetoric out there about defunding police. It's about people hearing that we're not going to prosecute, small theft cases under $1,000, whatever it be. All these different things that are going on that are being, talked about in the news.
Yeah.
Whether they're accurate or not, by the way, because some of that's not accurate. But anyway.
Did you hear the most recent thing that Miss Pelosi added to this?
I would love to hear.
Well, she just can't figure out why this crime is out of control. She is disgusted by all of it and wants to know why it's out of control. And I'm thinking, I can't even go there because
can't even start.
I mean, if you're that detached, not that we need any more proof that she's detached from the American public.
Yeah.
There's one for you. I don't know why this is so out of control. I cannot take it.
We just have to stop this defund the police rhetoric and think that it's not going to result in more lawlessness, or at least, incentivizing criminals, right? With less severe penalties.
Yeah. Who wants to go to work and, like you said, be the next face on the news if you're a police officer?
Right.
And all you want to do is do your job. But when you've got government officials that are telling you can't, I don't know what you do in that situation. I mean, I'm not sure what
you have to laugh at Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago. She says, "Oh,
yeah,
you should." Well, anyway,
for a lot of reasons,
you should have hired security inside your businesses. Well, the car dealership did, but at the same time, they don't want to take the liability for shooting somebody or for one of their patrons being shot during a robbery.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's me. That's my lawlessness. I can't stand it any more than I did a couple weeks ago, but it's just coming in a different
Definitely getting worse. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, you're starting to see, I even saw an article about I heard this today. It was this morning, sometime very early when the TV was on in the background. People are leaving their trunks open and leaving the car doors unlocked
so they don't get
broken into, so it doesn't cause property damage to crowbar the trunk or crowbar the doors. I mean, how bad is it that you're like, I'm just going to leave my trunk open?
Yeah.
See, I have nothing. I mean, that is like bizarre.
This happened to me about 7 years ago. I had my car was in a parking lot. It's an SUV, completely wide open, no trunk, right? And you can see in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I mean by wide open, but it was locked. There was a small ratchet set in an enclosed case in the back. This had to be a $30 to $40 ratchet set at a store, okay? But somebody busted in my window to get to this ratchet set. It cost me $270 for the new window. Over a $40-ish ratchet.
I've seen your chainsaw, and if your chainsaw is a reflection of your tools, I doubt it was $40. I would say worth more like $15. No offense, but
I can make lots of comments here, and
I'm just saying.
Very classy.
Yeah, that is a classy move.
I'm going to stay classy, Santiago.
I had a similar incident. It probably was about 7 years ago at the Levesque Tower. I had a nice Martin guitar in the back seat, and somebody broke into my car, just smashed the window. I think I was parked on the top level, so I go up to like level 8, get off the elevator, glass everywhere. They broke the driver's side window. Again, a very nice guitar in the back, probably a $1,200 guitar. They stole the change out of my, ashtray. They took all my change, and the guitar was sitting in the back seat. And there was a little part of me that felt like that felt good because you're so stupid you didn't realize there was $1,200 sitting there. But I didn't enjoy having the window fixed for $700 either. So
yeah,
it's unreal. It really is. But it's bad when it's becoming tolerated. That's the issue. Back then, had somebody seen that, I'm pretty confident they would have, the cops would have come and arrested the person, and the normal course of action would have occurred there. But
I don't know. At the drugstore the other day, I would have thought, I think there were employees that knew what was happening, that were aware of the situation.
Why should the employees have to get in the middle of it too?
I'm with
scary.
you, but why wouldn't they have called the police when they saw this guy starting to stuff a bag?
Well, that's
right?
different. Absolutely.
And they may have, I don't know, and the police may have said, whatever, we're too busy for that. We can't really deal with that right now.
Yep.
And in today's climate, you can walk into any store with a full face covering. Right. And that's what he had. He had a full, it covered.
What you're expected to walk in.
All he had were his eyes showing. So his forehead, his hair, his ears, his nose and under was all covered. But that's okay right now, unless you go to a bank. I believe you're actually not allowed to wear that in a bank.
Oh.
Anyway.
Well, good topic. Good discussion. We're moving on to the next Friday free-for-all topic from the one and the only Special K. What do you got for us today, Special K?
All right, I'm finally going to get this off my chest after
I doubt it.
Bugging
I feel like
the crap out of you guys for months about this. But I want to talk about the Texas abortion law that they passed a few months ago because, and I don't want to have the conversation about pro-life or pro-choice. I think every argument has already been made about that and people stand where they stand. But what's interesting about this is the way that it is enforced. Because the reason why the Supreme Court chose to, they didn't rule on it, but just chose to let it go is because the government is not enforcing criminal penalties on people who get abortions or people who provide abortions. It's the citizens can sue each other civilly and you get a $10,000 reward for ratting people out.
Ding, ding, ding.
Interesting.
And what I think people on the right are losing sight of, if they are happy with this law because of the way that they feel about abortion, is you can take that enforcement model and use it on anything that they want, and it might be something that you don't like. Like, for example, now in California, Gavin Newsom is trying to do the same type of thing to enforce gun laws. You can sue gun manufacturers if somebody commits a crime with a gun that they bought from that manufacturer, And that's the way that they get out of it, is we're not infringing on your Second Amendment rights, because it's just citizens suing each other civilly. I could also, this hasn't happened yet, but in my conspiracy mind, envision a scenario where we might get to the point where you can start snitching on fellow citizens who aren't vaccinated.
Come on, man.
So there's all kinds of ways that this can be enforced, and I don't think a lot of people, or other types of laws, that they can use this enforcement model, and I don't think people know that that's really how it's enforced and understand the consequences that can come from that.
Let's back up a second. What is their claim? In the abortion context, what's the claim?
I actually truthfully don't
that's
really know.
okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm
That's
trying
what
to...
I'm wondering, what's the cause of action? And even if, has this ever happened where someone...
Well, it's not happened yet.
Well, in another context, maybe.
Yeah.
Where
But I've wondered that too, because me living in Ohio, I can sue somebody in Texas for this. Like, I don't even have to know the person. So I don't understand I understand the question you're asking, but I don't know the answer of like what damages are there to me if some woman in Texas gets an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I don't like it. And it's been really bothering me. There was another one in Pennsylvania where they said that they were going to start forcing men who have had either 3 kids or once they hit the age of 40, they were going to force you guys to get vasectomies. And you can snitch on somebody who's over 40 or has 3 kids and doesn't have a vasectomy. Now, when people went crazy about that, the Pennsylvania legislature came out and they're like, well, that was just a satire bill. Now, I'm not really sure why you're kind of thought we were supposed to take it a little more seriously than that.
I was thinking more Buck versus Bell, if you remember that old con law case.
Yeah, that's what I thought of too, actually, when that was said. But
what's that one? I don't know.
That was the one where they...
What was the famous line?
Three generations
of imbeciles is enough.
Is enough. Like,
the Supreme Court decided to sterilize a family. There was a lot, but it was more like incest and inbreeding.
There was some really
things like that,
like gory details in that case. Yeah.
But they, essentially the state was ordering, the sterilization of individuals because they were having children in the bloodline.
Slippery slope.
I think that
you let them do it for one.
The point's well taken. You don't want necessarily a way to get around certain, provisions that are there constitutionally to keep us from losing what's in essence part of our Bill of Rights. On the other hand, when it comes from someplace like California, I have a hard time being surprised about anything that's wacky that comes out of there. And when I think of that being applied in a different place, I don't see it as being as likely. And it's kind of like we discussed yesterday when it comes to abortion in and of itself. I think you've got very liberal states. So the general populace is okay with abortion and maybe even okay with, some late term abortion, where you move that to a more conservative state and they may think just opposite. And with this whole Roe v. Wade, concern that people have about all of a sudden, there won't be any abortions. I'll have to go to Mexico. I'll have to go somewhere else. I mean, that's kind of an absurd interpretation of that, even if the Supreme Court does reverse Roe v. Wade, because I would guess that the more liberal states, since the power will be in the state's hands, are going to afford more rights to those that want to have abortions, whether, I agree with it or not. I'm just saying, I think if you are in California, you're actually going to score maybe by Roe v. Wade, kind of relinquishing certain federal guidelines that aren't there anymore, that the state can then turn over and say, well, we want to be way more liberal and flexible with when you can have, I mean, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. They're just simply taking it out of federal control.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's
I think a lot of people think it will be outlawed
Right.
outright. It's not, it becomes a state's right.
Well, but it will be in some states.
Yeah.
It will be in some states.
Individual states.
And I think that's generally what some people are worried about. Well, I live in X state, so now you're telling me I got to go to a different state to do this. Well, yeah, that's what they're saying.
But here's what's interesting. I think that those particular states where you're having some people scream about it because, say, there's one abortion clinic, it's a very small part of the overall population of the state that thinks that abortion is even okay. So for them, they're not, I get it. The few that do think this is an issue and I'm not going to be able to get an abortion in my state, very small percentage. there's probably a much larger percentage of people in the more liberal states that already think abortion is okay that are still yelling about this. And it's like, but wait, you're going to get probably more freedoms to kill more babies even later in your pregnancy. So what are you so pissed about? You see what I mean? Like, that's the one thing that doesn't really seem to be making it through the journalistic.
TV hasn't told them to be pissed about.
Well, that's what my point is. This is not something you hear on the media. So, but yeah, that's another.
But we all are also always just one election away from being run by a bunch of liberal wackos like out in California. So just because right now things are kind of cool in Ohio, don't take it for granted. That could change at any time.
So hold on, I want to go back. What's the basis for the $10,000? So you said they'd have a civil action with damages of $10,000. I'm kind of curious where that comes from.
I also want to know.
I've read a lot about this. I've never heard that explained as to what the damages are to me and why you're allowed to do that.
Exactly. So how do you substantiate your damages? So again, similarly, if I can sue somebody else for violating a gun control law, if I wasn't specifically damaged as an individual citizen, where's my standing?
It might be statutory damages. I think they may be defining it as statutory damages, meaning that unlike in a case that we would handle for a personal injury case, we have the duty, the burden is on us to establish the value of the losses, that it's just codified as a statutory damage.
Okay.
I'm guessing kind of like a liquidated damages clause in a contract, maybe similar.
My point is that in a gun control context, as long as you're following the gun control laws in your state, I don't care who has the ability to sue me. If I follow the gun laws, and I abide by Second Amendment, you have no cause of action.
Yeah, I think maybe for unregistered.
You're unregistered.
But instead of government coming after you now, your neighbor can come tell on you.
Well, I get that, but our Constitution is set up to stop the government from coming after you, not other citizens.
Yeah, it's tough. Also, it's kind of like akin in some ways to like a HIPAA type law. You hear people many times will say, well, they violated my HIPAA rights. I'm going to sue them and I'm going to get money for it. The problem with that is there is no private cause of action under HIPAA. So yeah, you can't sue them. You can't sue them and get money. You may find a different, mechanism to do that involves maybe privacy rights within state law provisions. But in terms of HIPAA itself, there is no private cause of action. So I'm not sure if they're saying there's a private cause of action that I can recover damages, or they're saying if you report it similar to HIPAA, the government has the ability to go in and fine that organization for violating particular protocols that are within the bill. And that's what HIPAA does. HIPAA doesn't allow you or me or anybody else to sue under the HIPAA law and get damages. But if it's reported to the government goes in and sees these violations occurring, the facilities may have to pay fines and penalties to the government, but I don't get the money. And that's a common mistake. A lot of people think they've got claims for HIPAA claims. That doesn't mean you can bank on a HIPAA violation.
Well, I'll be curious to vet out some of these issues further.
But to your point that it's supposed to stop the government, not fellow citizens, that's what I'm scared about. Is this is now the government's workaround for any time that they do want to violate one of our constitutional rights. They won't do it. They will just create these statutory laws where there are monetary rewards. So now your fellow citizen has an incentive provided by this statute made by the government to rat you out. If they didn't do that, your fellow citizen would have no standing or reason to go report you for doing this.
But the underlying statute that's passed by that legislature cannot violate your rights. So if the underlying statute... We
got Bruce on to weigh in.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, I think so. Bruce?
He's from Texas, too, so...
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you, buddy.
Okay, hey, you're not broadcasting anymore.
Yeah, I think it got stuck on private when we sent it out, but we're just recording it. It's under private, but we'll make it public when we're done so that it'll be live.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't really know what you're talking about. I just didn't know you were putting out anywhere.
Hey, no worries. We were just talking about the Texas abortion law because Kelsey won't leave it alone.
Yeah, everybody's all upset about that. It is what it is.
So wait, Bruce, do you know the answer to this question? When you're suing your fellow citizen for the $10,000 reward, what is your standing in court for? What are your damages on why you can have a case to sue them? I don't think I said that right.
I don't really know. There hasn't been anything on any of the local news or anything where anybody's tried to pursue any of that.
Because what I heard some of the clinics say is that this effectively outlaws abortion because everybody that helped facilitate the abortion can get sued for $10,000, including an Uber driver that drops you off at the clinic. But the only person that can't is the mother. And since the mother is not one of the people that can get sued, there's nothing to stop a pro-life activist from making an appointment at an abortion clinic. And then as soon as they take that appointment, boom, she can sue them now. So the abortion providers have said, we are not going to see anybody for this at all because we don't know which of these patients are actually trying to set us up.
No, I don't know. I guess I could get off the freeway one of these days on my way home and see how full the Planned Parenthood parking lot is.
We would appreciate that. Film it for us, please.
I mean, I drive by it every day. I just don't get off where it's at.
Well,
the parking lot's around back. You can't see it from the freeway.
So that's probably good for privacy for the people that go there. But
yeah, I know. Our shop almost moved. My boss bought a building right next to it. You can see the parking lot from that building, but we didn't move in there.
What are you doing for Christmas, Bruce? Are you staying local or are you going traveling?
I'm probably just staying here.
That sounds fun.
I don't really have any plans.
Bruce, do you ever dress up as Santa Claus at the mall as a side gig? I don't know if people probably don't know what Bruce looks like, but he's got a full-on Santa beard. You ever thought about doing that as a side job?
Nah, I like people that much. That's why they let me waste stuff back in the corner of the shop as it is. Because, people walk by and I wave to them, but no one talks to me.
Oh.
Well, they're missing out. You know?
Yeah, probably.
That's their loss. Well, thanks for calling in today, Bruce. Sorry about that. We'll have the other part of it out here soon, but want to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thanks again.
All
right. See you.
Later.
Appreciate you, Bruce.
All right. Well, Bruce called in, and he's right. We were doing a private broadcast, but that's because I think we normally do warm-ups with that, but it'll be right back public when we're done. That's just to make sure that Matt or Kelsey don't make any huge mistakes so we can...
Wouldn't be the first time.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Or the last.
That's right. All right. I guess it's my turn.
What do you got, Shake and Bake?
Well, I've got a very, very interesting, just kind of ran across it. Kelsey pulled it up and mentioned it, and I had forgot all about it. What do you got for me to discuss?
You want me to tell
you
your
said you
topic?
had the article. No, you said something about the article, so I didn't know.
The Freedom of Information Act request from people from Harvard and Yale, a bunch of scientists have gotten together in Texas, actually, and are suing, making a Freedom of Information Act request because they want the information from the pharmaceutical companies on the vaccine.
Right.
And the pharmaceutical companies have requested that they have a 55-year window in which they can release this information to the public. It's supposed to be within 20 days. They've requested 55 years.
Which I think is reasonable. Those things take a long time. I mean, think about all the documents you have to put together.
I think things are electronic now, but that is actually the excuse the pharmaceutical companies are using, is they want to protect.
A lot of numbers and math they got to put together.
They're talking the plaintiffs, so the scientists. They are saying that this would do a lot to reduce vaccine hesitancy, to make people feel more confident in taking these shots. And when you do this and you put up a 55-year wait period, that's going to make people skeptical.
You mean relieving pharmaceutical companies and absolving them any liability for any problems associated with their vaccines and holding back information for 55 years would would make people hesitant.
But they gave you a free donut for taking it.
Well,
Ooh.
so let's.
I'll take 2.
Let's put all of it together.
I think you get 4 now, or maybe 5 or 6. I don't know how many shots we're up to.
If we go back to the beginning of all this, right? So let's put it all together into like one little piece, and that is take the vaccine. No time ever has the government made it that important for your health to be top priority, but you need to take it. Okay. Initially, the current administration said, we won't take that. That's a Trump vaccine. So then they get in office. Not only do they take it, but now they're telling everybody else, you should take it too.
No.
Not should.
Not
you
should.
Have to.
Oh, take the vaccine.
Yes.
Take it. So then we, of course, like most people that take any kind of drug would like to know, what's in there. Can you tell me? But not just that, like, what are my side effects? Because every other medicine I've ever taken in my life, if I read on the side of the bottle, it tells me this medication may make me drowsy. This medication may cause explosive diarrhea. This medication might make my, skin peel off. I mean, whatever it is, but it's on the side of the bottle. But when requesting information about what are the possible side effects, the answer is it's safe. Just take it. It's safe.
Trust the science.
Trust the science. It's safe. But there's no risk thing that I can read to say, okay, I feel good about this because I read it. I appreciate my risk. And Matt, you and I had talked about this a while back with doctors. When you go in to have a surgery, any kind of procedure, the doctor has to give you what's called informed consent. And informed consent is, okay, you're going to have your back work done. Obviously, we want this to be a great outcome. And if it is, you're going to be having less pain. You're going to be able to be more mobile, more active. However, with this fusion surgery comes the following risk. And there's a list of risks that the doctor covers as part of, we don't do a lot of medical malpractice, know a lot of attorneys that do. And informed consent is a big part of a doctor's oath and duty to the patient before they decide to cut your body open. These are the things that can happen. You sign something, right? Every time you go in for that, you have to sign off. I was advised by my doctor of these potential risks. I don't remember seeing those go around at the vaccine clinics where they're saying, here are all the things that you're agreeing, you've been informed about, you've considered them, and you've decided, well, I've weighed the risk. And for me, I'm okay taking that risk. So I sign here.
But they gave you the chance to win $1 million.
And free scholarships. But I'm just saying, as a doctor, the question I wonder is down the road, is that a violation of the doctor's standard of care? Because that's what you sue doctors for when they do not do the right things. It's a standard of care, medical standard of care that they have to follow. Will there be lawsuits? I know you can't get to the pharmaceutical companies because they've been given a free pass for the first time ever, an absolute free pass. They can't get sued. So do you go to the doctor and you say, well, the doctor didn't give me informed consent. The doctor didn't tell me about the side effects. The doctor didn't warn me that I could have these things happen. I could, I'm not going to speculate about what it can do, but obviously there's some things that have come through the pipeline that there can be these side effects, but my doctor never gave them to me. And now I'm dealing with this. So I don't know the answer to this question. Can I sue the doctor? And if so, are the medical malpractice insurance carriers giving this some serious consideration? Because if something bad happens, they're going to get the pantsuit off and there's going to be a lot of money to be paid. So that's another angle. But then continuing down the pipeline here, after all of that, you still think, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. And there are people that absolutely probably should, if you've got some risk, you're older, whatever the case may be. But then you said, oh, and by the way, I'm just curious what's in that. Well, you're going to have to wait 55 years and we'll give you that info. I mean, what else?
But you're going to lose your job if you don't take it.
Right. You're going to lose your job. And what else do you need at this point to see something smells funny? Is anybody else on board with me here? Like, what other thing could they do to make this look even more skeptical or shady? I mean, why do you need to hold it for that long? What's the justification?
I'm sorry. Did you say what else could make it look more shady?
Right. I don't know.
How about lots of figureheads who are out there shouting for the rooftops the need to take the vaccines? Okay. I'm talking about people at the very top of the NIH and the administration who have a direct link.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's the obvious conflict of interest
correct.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The compensation related to vaccine distribution.
Right. But I mean, when you think about it from all of those angles, before we even get into the discussion of do you have a religious belief or you have a, medical condition that would prevent you from having this, and just think about it from a sheer common sense approach for a minute. I mean, what else do you need to at least do your homework or think about it and not act like a sheep that just, takes their arm out and says, poke me.
Or not advocate
I just don't get it.
Making the people, even if you're not skeptical yourself, understand why other people are and not advocate for them losing their jobs and being ostracized from society because they are skeptical. I'm not skeptical, but I can see why you would be. So, but there's no nuance for that. And if you don't agree with people, then you're a bad person and you shouldn't be allowed to go to restaurants or concerts or do anything in public ever again.
I mean, I don't know about how well they work. I mean, I think there's a lot of arguments that they're not working great.
I mean,
but on the other hand,
within a year.
Yeah, but and it is funny when you think about it, kind of like the whole COVID restriction thing. It was like, 14 days to stop the spread. And then, we're God knows how long down the road before we even started to see each other again. But then it was like, all you got to do is get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. And then it's like, get your booster. Get your third booster. Get your ninth booster. It's like, I mean, how many boosters do you have to take before? And I understand that the virus changes and all these things. But this is it's becoming almost like a bad science fiction movie.
Well, it's a never ending, drib drab of what the vaccine does and doesn't do. Originally, take the vaccine, you're going to be golden.
Oh, right. No mask.
Yeah. No mask.
No mask. You don't need it. No restrictions.
I think you might still need the mask. And by the way, you can still get it. And by the way, you can
give
still
it to
pass it on.
Somebody else. Yeah.
And so people started thinking to themselves, why do I need this? Now, I will say there's a lot of evidence out there that says taking the vaccine makes you less likely to have severe side effects from COVID.
I hear that.
I don't know the science. I've heard plenty of that. And if that's a case, great.
Yeah.
But you can still get it and you can still pass it on. And and originally, we were told this vaccine will not let that happen, right? So the original idea of the vaccine was I'm going to be immune from this disease.
The original idea of the vaccine was that it was a vaccine.
Right.
Which just meant that you would never have to take another vaccine because that's supposed to work unless, there's always a chance years down the road, maybe you need a little upgrade there. But outside of
10 years.
Right.
But it's just it's nonstop change as to the goalpost is always moving. It was moving from day one about the masks and about business shutdowns and complete societal shutdowns. And then it was the goalpost moving about what it is that vaccines actually do.
Yeah. And that's why people have zero confidence in anything that's happening. I mean, zero confidence because from day one, I believe everybody feels like I've been lied to and I've been lied to again. Whether it's an intentional lie or not, there's nothing to base any kind of confidence on these people we look to guide us or give us medical advice when that medical advice is ever changing and their opinions are ever changing. And these aren't opinions about things we don't care about, generally speaking. They're not opinions about what, whether they think a doctor thinks you should smoke or not. Well, your doctor doesn't think you should smoke. I don't think that most people are going to just stop smoking because they like to smoke. These are things that are so much closer to everybody's home, which is spending time with family. I saw the article yesterday. Have you canceled your Christmas plans yet because of Omicron? And I'm thinking, well, no, I haven't because I even thought about that. Why would I think about that? And
Fauci told you to.
Well, exactly.
And I just do whatever he says.
And that's the point. And then you rewind and you say, what do you say about the holiday back when the vaccine first came? Oh, holidays, you can do everything you want once
Long
you
as
have
you
the
get your
vaccine. I
vaccine.
mean, it's like there's so much BS out there that you cannot trust anything or believe anything. So everybody is, I think, smartly starting to just kind of tune it out and say, I'm not listening anymore. Or, I mean, there are plenty that are, but those that have, like, I think, a very common sense approach to life have decided this stuff is ridiculous. What is happening? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And at some point, you know, it's that cry wolf theory. Keep crying wolf, and eventually nobody listens anymore, you know? And I think that's, for a lot of people, that's where they're at. I can't speak to others that think differently, and there's probably a decent amount. But I do feel like there's this kind of turn and this change occurring in society that people are starting to just be fed up.
Like them to turn a little bit faster, though.
I wouldn't mind that either.
This is just one other thing, semi-related, but that bothers me with the hypocrisy and maybe people not thinking about things fully for themselves. But I can remember last year, Donald Trump was president. I'm not saying I agree with this statement or not, but the public narrative was that he was putting the economy before COVID. And that's why COVID got so bad, because Donald Trump just cared about the economy being good. Now, fast forward to this year, and Joe Biden has pushed his vaccine mandate back to January 3rd because business owners asked him to do it because they didn't want their staff to quit during the busy holiday season. So how is that not putting the economy ahead of the public health because you have pushed your mandate back for the businesses? And then the court...
the economy is on shaky ground, maybe, and...
But people were so mad about that last year. Trump was literally Hitler for doing that, and now people are just fine with it.
I'm sorry. What people? That's the difference. It's who was angry about it.
Yeah.
The
right?
news, the people who direct what the public narrative is for everybody else, and then the job that I have that's not here, I have to talk to the general public a lot, and a lot of people buy into this stuff and come in and repeat these things, this propaganda they hear all the time. So I'm not going to name names, but yeah, a lot of people think that.
It's the same bias that we've talked about on almost every major issue that we've ever talked about, right? It's the same people who have, that hypocrisy.
Right.
But then the courts told the businesses, you can't enforce this vaccine mandate. It's unconstitutional. And Joe Biden comes out and says, no, just ignore the courts and do it anyways, because every day you don't force your staff to get vaccinated, hundreds of people are dying. So if that's true, what he just said there, then why'd you push your mandate back to January 3rd? If it's of the utmost importance to public health and people not dying, then you're a hypocrite for pushing it back to January 3rd. So you can even take Donald Trump out of the equation and just look at the two things that Joe Biden is saying, like within days of each other. And that's the most hypocritical thing I've ever heard, and it drives me insane.
I'm surprised.
Insane. People don't get mad about that.
You can understand anything, any of the gibberish that he's speaking of recently.
Oh, it's like my favorite TV show is to hear that Joe Biden's going on and giving a live speech. I get giddy.
Today he gave a commencement speech and called his vice president, President Harris.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he does that all the time. It's kind of weird.
It happened today. I saw it.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty wild.
Did he rip one like he did in front of Prince Charles' wife?
I don't think so. Oh, that could have been him. That could have been old Joe. All right. Well, that pretty much sums up the Free for All Friday and some good topics, good discussion there. And I do think that hopefully next year we'll bring probably lots of material and content. We're only, 9 months into this administration, so 10 months.
Well, things are going to start popping off in January after the holidays.
Yeah, so probably a lot of content to cover, but we certainly appreciate everyone listening, and we're going to do one more show, so I'll save my praises for the audience and those of you that support the SL podcast for the final show of the year, which will be next week because I believe myself and the Ironman will be out of the state for a couple days, or if not a week. So we will do that one next week, and topic oriented. I really want a Christmas theme, some kind of holiday theme. We need to think about this. So put our thinking caps on for the weekend.
The war on Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder if Santa's bringing vaccines this year. Ho, ho, ho. Santa, what are you doing? I'm asleep. Ouch, that's pointy.
Better wear a face mask in my house. 2 of them.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I hope everybody can enjoy their Christmas festivities without testing people at the door. It's a little awkward. Here, shove this up your nose before we have turkey.
Yeah.
Yikes. Well, anyway, thanks for tuning in to the Free for All Friday. You guys have a wonderful weekend, and we will pick back up on this probably Tuesday or Wednesday, more likely Wednesday of next week. And you can find us again on iTunes, Spotify, Verbal, Buzzsprout, all of those places. Please like, subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. And if you have any comments, questions, or thoughts about things you would like for us to talk about, even with this upcoming Christmas idea, feel free to just write a comment there on Facebook or YouTube. And if we can do it, we'll try to do it. You know, it's nice to get some ideas from everybody else, because otherwise
I like to talk about what people want to hear about too. So
you were behind the camera. I didn't think you saw me. All right. Until next time, this is Shake and Bake signing off on the SOL podcast.
Thank you for listening to SOL. Join us next time on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and iTunes. For additional information or questions related to your legal matter, contact the Baker Law Group at 614-228-1882. That's 614-228-1882. Be safe, know your rights, and follow the law. This podcast is adjourned.